all right.
Can you make my hair look like this?
Man, what you want to make your hair look like that for?
See, that's the problem with y'all today. Y'all don't know nothing.
Will you let the man tee you off? You yap worse than 6 barbers.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Your Barber podcast. I'm your host, Matt Ballot, a.k.a. Matty Blades. We're up to episode 18. This is YBP 18, still going strong, still coming at you, going to continue to come early and often, man. So this is going to be a little bit of a different episode. This is going to be, this podcast was going to be called Your Barber is a Person podcast. This is going to be a people podcast episode, and who know better than to bring in your best friend from your childhood. So let's go ahead and bring in my guy, Mike Magee, ladies and gentlemen.
Rumble, young man, rumble. Life is a trip, so sometimes we gon' stumble. Man. You gotta go through pain in order to become.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for coming on to the show, the Your Barber podcast show, man. So reintroduce him. This is Mike Magee, my best friend since first grade. So it's been a long run, man. We've been everywhere. We've kind of seen it all at this point.
Right? It has. East Coast, West Coast. Stayed in touch through it all. Same states, different states. It's been great, man.
Yeah, man. Tell these people where we're from.
So Clarksburg, West Virginia, man.
That's where we were raised. It was Clarksburg. She doesn't get her flowers, man. Clarksburg.
No, I remember I was working at a bar one time. Somebody was like, "Oh, who's famous from where you grew up?" And I was like, "Oh, Frank Loria." Not too many people, man. Not too many people.
Jimbo Fisher. There's another one.
Jimbo, yeah. Brian, Mrs. Fisher, bringing it back.
Yeah. Strong family line there. Always got to do that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, me and Michael met. How we kind of hooked up, it was funny because my mom and dad had just split up, and my mom was dating someone, and I just remember he was like, "Who's your best friend in school? Who's your friends in school?" And I was like, "Michael Magee." It was like, "Let's call him. Let's just call him." And that was the days where you could just look up people in the yellow pages. so I think we just literally looked up Magee, and, Michael Magee Sr. popped up, your father. So just called, got together, and then that's how it kind of went back then. Just
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Playing recess, playing video games, N64 back in the day, regular Nintendo.
Yeah, man.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, man, you were like a brother. I was at your house just as much as I was at my house. You and Michael Secret. Shout out to Michael Secret.
3 M's, man. All of us, we were together between Kelly, Frank's house, Donna, Anthony. We were over at everybody's, man. It was a great time.
Exactly.
Good family, good community we had there growing up.
I appreciate you and your folks bringing me in, just like I was one of your parents' kids.
Yeah. No, I mean, your family, anytime we showed up at, somebody's house, it's, have you eaten yet? Sit down, eat, eat some food. You look skinny. Get some more. Take something home. How's your mom doing? How's the family doing? How's grandma? How's grandpa?
Yeah, dude. Speaking of Clarksburg, one of the things I always look forward to Clarksburg is the Italian bakeries. Coming back home. They're still going strong.
Sunday morning after church, going to tomorrow's bakery, pepperoni rolls in the air, getting that fresh bread. Oh, man. Line out the door, waiting, talking to everybody.
See, I grew up on D'Annunzio's. Your mom and her side of the family, they got the restaurant right there near Tomorrow's. So, I get it how you're going to lean that way. But I got to go. I got to go to D'Annunzio's.
Okay.
Even though Tomorrow's is closer to my mom's house where I'm at. Sometimes I go over there and it's like evolved into this like hip thing almost over at Tomorrow's.
Oh yeah, it's changed over the years. I think it's got new owners now. And I haven't been back there for years, so I couldn't tell you what it's like nowadays. But
yeah, it's always good to go back home. I try to at least get one pepperoni roll or 6 every time. every time I go.
Yeah.
So me and Michael here, we've kind of been around the block a lot. I'm going to hop in. I'm still going to get into my just an observation, even though Michael's not a barber, connected in the barber industry. Real quick for people to just understand what your title is at your job. Let people know your exact title, and that'll kind of tie into my observation.
So nowadays, yeah, I'm a cultivation supervisor for MSO, multi-state operation. So yeah, corporate marijuana, grow medical marijuana. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. So you're pretty big in the grow side of things, right?
Yep.
Cultivation of the product.
That's right. A lot of flower, man. Produce it. We're vertically integrated, so we have flower. We do the lab, extracts, tinctures, lotions. We just started to do edibles, strokies, RSO, Rick Simpson oil, all types of things.
Nice.
Pretty much
See, a lot of
everything.
A lot of barbers definitely partake. We're artists, so it's only natural that a lot of us may favor some things.
Creative influences going, man. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, man. It's my observation today though is going to be along the lines of barbers who are they're high on the job, right? You're coming in. You're smelling like weed. You're affected by it. It's affecting your performance. It's not spoken enough about how like barbers are just like the connection for marijuana and barbers. Like a lot of people partake. It's just like you got to be responsible with it. Not to say I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I've never cut hair high or like partaken, but certain things maybe early in the development, it's going to help maybe create a brain path you never thought of, or maybe just get you curious about trying a different way. But these days especially, like
there's a big difference between being a little feeling a little lifted, a little elevated, getting the right mindset to go on through your day, maybe help your ailment, to getting stoned out of your mind, walking in and not be able to look at the guy. And like you said, if it's hindering your job and your day-to-day activity, if you can't talk to somebody, talk to a customer because you're so high, like you got some issues going on, man.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into the whole treatment aspect of it and how barbers can benefit from that for sure. But just like, these days I gotta be clean and mean and ready to rock. And I can pick my spots with it. Say I got a two-day weekend ahead of me, just might pop an edible or something when I get home and just decompress a little bit and enjoy it that way. But no more on the job. That's for sure.
Enjoy yourself, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my observation. Just it's not spoken enough about, especially in like creating content and things. That like a lot of barbers around here are just abusing weed, and it can be hindering in a lot of ways. You just gotta use it responsibly, just like booze. So yeah, that's the little observation there. But
I like that, man. I like that.
So I wanted to kind of get into sort of how Magee's journey started and his job, and how he's kind of, at a point to where he's conquering the space and he's on to bigger and better things in that industry. But first I want to kind of like transition into how that journey began through talking about a certain year in my life. And it was the year 2012, right? It was the year the world was supposed to end. In a lot of ways, it kind of, shook up my world a lot. Yeah. Remember when that was hot, talking about the world's going to end 2012?
I forgot the Mayan calendar and all that. Yeah.
A lot of the music industry took advantage of the whole Illuminati thing. That was hot during that time too. But
absolutely.
So 2012 was a time in my life where I was in college. Currently, I had already got out of the major I started college in, which was like physical therapy. I wanted to be a physical therapist. didn't make enough, good enough grades to kind of get into the program I was supposed to try to get into. So I was just kind of figuring it out. I was like trying business, and then my father at the time was saying, so get you on at the FBI if you get your degree, da da da. So like I went into criminal justice with no I was just doing it to please people, kind of. And I did well in it. I was acing a lot of stuff, but it just, it wasn't in my plan to be, to just carve out this little space for a possible opportunity at the FBI center, or what am I going to be, a cop or corrections officer? That's, I'm not to knock anyone that does that, but that's not what I was, that's not what I was put here for. It's not what I planned on. So
exactly, if you're going to get your degree, like get it in something that you can use it for and pass along. Like you say, if you're going to get a degree in criminal justice, that's great. If you're going to be a detective or police, or to use that, but just to walk out and say, "Hey, I have this piece of paper," like that's not really useful.
Yeah, dude, I would never pass the lie detector in the FBI either. Like, if even that holds any kind of weight, if that's bullshit or not. But so yeah, I just want to talk about, so 2012, I get in this relationship, right? And I'm with a girlfriend that's probably light years more mature than me in a lot of ways. And it was kind of blurring my vision a little bit and hindering my development. But, so I was in this relationship, and there's one day where I'm at the time I'm working for, my local parks and recreation for the county with kids, and I'm refereeing basketball during the winter, and I'm, working in the parks during the summer, doing a lot of enrichment programs with kids. But that seemed to be just like the cap of what I could do there. And I needed to work a little harder, and I was sort of settling in a lot of ways. So one day I remember it was a very snowy day. My work was canceled because if school was canceled, I didn't have to referee basketball. I didn't have to do anything with kids with school that way. So my girlfriend at the time worked up at the hospital, and she had a long trek and a lot of snow and didn't have a great car for it at the time. And she wrecked her car in the snow and just jacked up the alignment and everything. So I went to go pick her up, brought her to work in my car, dealt with the elements, parked my car somewhere, grabbed her car, drove it all fucked up to, I think it was like up somewhere at the mall. It may have been like Sears's Auto Center, right? So I sat there all day.
Body shop up there.
Yeah. So I was sitting at the body shop all day waiting for this car to get fixed up. And my father and I, we would go to my grandparents' house once a week to eat. And so that was the day that we would normally do that. Then from there, we would go to my sister's house to see her kids. She had, I can't remember if it was just one kid at the time. It was either one, my nephew had been born and my niece was just brand newly born, or it just may have been my nephew at the time. So anyway, so that was kind of just the routine during the week I would do. So finished up all that. Long day. That was at like 9 a.m. and it was like 5 o'clock already. It was like I worked a job just sitting at a body shop that whole day. So got the car done, dropped it off, whatever. Picked up my dad, went to my grandmother's and ate there. Everything seemed to be normal, steady as she goes. And we get to my sister's house, and it's my half sister, from my father's first marriage. And so my sister's there, see the kids. And then I noticed my uncle's there too. And I was like, okay, with my brother, my half brother as well. And so I was thinking maybe they were just getting something taken care of there at the same time. And it was just odd. My dad kind of had us all there at one time, and he just blindsided us with news that he had stage 4 cancer and that it's, there's no stage 5. And so that just like stunned all of us. And, I realized my uncle was kind of there to corral my brother a little bit and keep him at bay. And it just kind of smacked us, blindsided us right all in the face. And so that's how my 2012 started. I believe it was like February or so. A lot of, obviously snow in the mix. So, just dealing with that, continuing on, I had a whole, I was in school and I had the thought in my brain that I wanted to drop out of school and go to barber school, right? And there was no kind of like current path to get there. And mind you, at this time, my grandfather was kind of not in the greatest of shape. He had, heavy Alzheimer's and just dementia. And, we go over there and see him a lot and just try to make sure he's eating the right things. So had that going on. My dad just dropped that he was sick. We thought we didn't have much time with him. Got super lucky and got 3 more years of being with my dad because I went through a stage of remission. So these things were happening and I'm in this relationship and she convinces me to drop out of college and kind of do what I should be doing, which was good advice. But my dad always wanted me to finish school. So that was a very hard thing. And I just remember having this conversation with my dad when I dropped out of school. I didn't tell him at the beginning. And, when you get sick, everyone, my dad was kind of making the point. He's like, wow, I should get cancer more often. Everyone's like just here for me, hand and foot, sending me food 24/7. Just, hey, how you doing? Hey, just people you haven't heard of from forever. And just everyone's kind of just, reaching out to him and really nice to him. And I remember I had this just her brutal conversation with my dad when I dropped out of school that I was, doing this and I wanted to go to barber school and he hated it. He hated the idea. And I remember screaming at my dad. I remember telling him some harsh things, just being like, I remember the words coming out of my mouth, like, no one wants to hire a 62-year-old with cancer, because he said he was retiring from his work he got into after owning his own business and stuff. Said he was applying for a job. And I was telling him all this real shit. And he was talking about setting me up with, an inheritance of sorts, of a monthly, stipend, of course. And he was like saying, that's the prize if you get your degree. He was almost like hanging it over my head. And I said, I don't give a fuck about that money. I want you here. And I feel like that was some of the realest shit that someone was telling him. Everyone was kind of telling him stuff he wanted to hear. And I was the only one that told him some real stuff. So I know he appreciated that. And it struck him a certain way, because he told me later on, he's like, you're right. No one wants to hire 60. Come to find out, no one wants to hire a 62-year-old with cancer. So I know he heard that. I know he appreciated, looking back, just the authenticity of someone telling them something different, for a change. And, so fast forward after that conversation, that was sometime in February. The relationship I'm in at the time, it's sort of on its last legs, whether I wanted to believe it or not. And I remember my grandfather was in the VA hospital at the time, and we went to Myrtle Beach when he was like towards the very end. And me trying to salvage a relationship that was failing, that I probably, knew it was over. I was trying to, do what I could, while at the same time, trying to be there for my grandfather, thinking I had more time, when in essence I didn't. He passed away when I was down on that trip. My dad called me and said, Papa just passed away. who you knew Pawpaw just as well as anyone. He
Oh yeah,
gave us many of rides. He
used to drive us around, man. Yeah, used to
one of the
hang
best
out there after
service
school.
sports birds ever seen. And he did that for everyone, for my cousins. He was just like, we were there just as much because, me and you, we kind of grew up the same way. Our parents worked. We were at home alone a lot. We'd be over with the babysitter at your house. And so my grandfather was
it was
always
literally anybody that could take them and save some money by, grandparents watching, cousins, babysitters, anything. Because, nobody was around. And we were, as we got older, it was just us. But,
yeah, they raised us, he raised us a lot and just brought us wherever we wanted to go to the mall. Boom, he's there for us. As he got older, the driving sort of kept slipping and slipping more and more. But, that's some of the perks of being in a small town, USA. You got to deal with the shit I'm dealing with for sure in this city. But so, yeah, he passed away.
Man, I could imagine him trying to drive around Atlanta.
Oh, dude, there's no way. There's no way. So he passed. My dad's sick. I drop out of school with my dad sick. And I remember it's Easter. It's Easter Sunday. We just may have had the service, remembering my grandfather. Easter Sunday. And I remember my girlfriend broke up with me on that day, like basically right after, which I knew deep down was coming. But, and I appreciate the authenticity of her being real with not holding on any longer. Sure, that's fine. No harm, no foul there. But, it was just all these things kept piling on for me. And it was a rough year. And I have this. I remember she broke up with me. And I always go to my aunt's house for Easter. That's one of the stops. And, my dad's there waiting on me. Everyone's there. And I'm still trying to come up with an excuse why she's not going to be there. And I'm just trying to corral my emotions and thoughts and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the New York Knicks play the Chicago Bulls. I'll never forget. It's this pivotal game. Shout out to Carmelo Anthony. He just retired. And then a lot of these highlight reels you're seeing was that day against the Chicago Bulls because he came down and it was the same exact spot. It was like the top right of the key 3-point line. He dribbled down, knocked down this huge three to go into overtime. Overtime came down the same spot, knocked down this three to win the game. And I just remember being like, all right, I got to go. Damn, there's another big shot. Like, it's like seeing that. So that game and that moment's like huge to me for all the shit that was going on with me at that time. And every time I see that, those memories come back up. But, it's all good in terms of a Knicks fan for sure. But so,
Mello, man, legend, just retiring. Good for him. Great career, legend.
Been a long time coming. So, get out of that relationship, get through Easter, get through the hurt and everything that's, molding me moving forward. And I decide to quit my job with the kids and everything in the summer. I kept the job in the summer, but I added another job. I decided I was going to work at FedEx at 3 a.m. overnight as a package handler. So my life, when the start of that summer, I mean, we hung out. We sort of went through maybe a period where we didn't hang out like as consistently as we were. Of course, we still did, but like that summer, I just remember like we were definitely deep in each other's lives, and we were partying, and I was just like warding off all this pain. I was like, so my schedule was basically I was up. I wouldn't go to sleep. I would stay up and party with you guys. I was hosting a lot of type of just like, I don't know. They're basically just reefer get-togethers.
Yeah. We'd smoke and play beer pong and stuff like that.
Yeah. We're doing Madden tournaments just like the old days, just bringing it back and, have without, putting people's names out there. We had a lot of people over there too that, were close to us. And, so we were hanging out. My mom was just out of town a lot. I think she was doing like camping trips and stuff a lot more. And so I had the house to myself as a 21-year-old, and we were, yeah, dude, I was just staying busy. So I would party with you guys, clock in at 3 a.m. at FedEx, which I'm sure everyone else was doing the same shit anyway, and get off at like 9 a.m. or so, and 9:30, something like that. Maybe I remember on the way home, like falling asleep at the wheel, like nodding off constantly. And I would sleep for maybe hour and a half, 2 hours. And then at noon, I would go to the kids' job at the park, work that until 5. And then when I got off of there, I'm hitting you up. I'm hitting the boys up saying, what's the move? What's going on? And then just all over again. So, dude, I was just, sometimes I'd be to be honest, I'd be sleep because I had some senior at that job. I was like one of the, managers or whatever. So sometimes I get there and just take a nap under the pavilion for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So I couldn't have been getting more than 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night. Like I was on that like Harvard sleep schedule. Like it was really
no, that was a wild time. I was like the years leading up to that, I was pretty heavy into some other drugs, and that's kind of when I got away from all you guys and was hanging out with some bad crews. And kind of got cleaned up and everything, just got back to smoking and drinking, partying, and so then we kind of got back up, and that was we were just turning 21. I was bouncing around jobs, working at a plastic factory, like a biohazard bag factory, just doing the worst jobs you can imagine.
Tell me what you said. You're working at a hanger factory. You came home and told your mom.
So I had 2 jobs that were just, one was plastic hangers where I would take them off the rack hot, put them in a box, fold them up, fold the box up, send it on its way. The other job was the biohazard waste bags that you see in hospitals that they put shit in. I would fold those up by the 100, stack them up in a box, fold it up, tape it, and send it on its way. And I remember coming home one day after work, and I think I worked the late night shift, like 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. or whatever it was. Yeah. And my mom was like, "Hey, how was work?" Da, da, da. And I was like, I feel like I was put on this earth to do something, and this is the farthest thing from what I was meant to do on this world.
Yeah,
it was just
it's terrible.
Like,
I kind of just took that from you earlier when I said that, like, because you were talking last night about that or the other day. Thought that was funny. I forgot all about that. You worked at those factories just for a very short stint.
Yeah, I think I did. I think it was through the temp agency or something. And yeah, both jobs, I probably worked like 3 days one day and 5 days the next day. I remember all the workers the one day were like, "Oh man, like you're a pretty good worker. Like, I hope you stick around. Like, this is great." I was like, "Oh yeah, man. Like, I'll be here tomorrow." And they just never came back.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like, I've always been like someone has always been in a relationship, like as far as I could. And like that summer I was single. I was having a blast with you guys, man. I remember that summer because even though I was like distracting myself, staying busy, I was just still developing all those memories if I could remember them. And with you guys, and it was super fun. And it was just for the summer because you had something that was going on. So I had all these people exiting my life, and then you were leaving. Pooh! No. So get into that summer, you had a plan. You came across a plan with you and your significant other, maybe. And
again, there wasn't really a whole lot going on. I was bouncing around. I was just newly in a relationship with Brittany. Shout out my girlfriend who I've been with now for 12 years. So she just moved up to Delaware, got a job up there, and was like, again, I didn't have anything going on, trying to make this long thing work. And she was like, "Hey, if you like, we have spots at this bar. If you want to come work, like, it's worth a shot." So I filled an application. I drove up there, spent the weekend with her, did the job interview, got the job. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, I'm out. Made my way up to Wilmington, Delaware.
Hell yeah, dude. So Brittany had family up there, or how'd she How'd she
So
get
her
into
sister
something
was
new?
up there,
Her sister's
and
up there.
she was
Right.
working for DuPont. And Brittany went up there to do massage therapy school, and she got licensed to do acupuncture, or not acupuncture, I'm sorry, ashiatsu, all types of different crazy massage therapists, Swedish, deep tissue, prenatal, all these crazy things. Ashiatsu is the one where she hangs on the bars and like rubs you out with her feet and stuff.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's fabulous.
Yeah, you've gotten plenty. I'm sure you've been a test dummy of sorts.
It happened a couple times. It wasn't nearly as tough as people thought, because again, she would massage people all day, so she didn't want to come home and massage me. But
right.
As we've gotten older and like worked different jobs and stuff, it's been more and more as the years go on. It's definitely.
That's what everyone says with
it's
Rosita. She teaches Spanish. How do you not know Spanish? I'm like, she don't want to teach me Spanish. She don't have any time. when she finally does get the time, she doesn't want to spend it teaching me learn, Spanish. So
Spanish 101, and she's speaking in full, full sentences.
Yeah, I'm a man. I know my limits sometimes. I know I got to be really dialed in to learn something new at this point. It's got to go a long way for me. Something like that would, for sure. So you moved. What was the day you moved? Do you remember the month at least?
I think it was like August. It was at the end of summer for sure. Like you said, we rocked out summer, and I don't know if I was at Losh's dad's house, like his dad's house in Port. There at the end, we were all kind of hanging out. Something reminds me of that, like being there. Maybe it was the last day before I left town, but
you said in Bridgeport.
Yeah, back across from Olive Areas and stuff. Back there behind like Tina Hot Dog. I'm talking about that area.
I do. Yeah, I know
His
exactly.
Dad had a little place over there they used to live at. We'd crash there every once in a while.
Okay. I don't know if I ever went, but yeah, mid-August maybe.
Yeah, let's say August, September. I moved up there. And started serving, waiting tables. Eventually worked my way up to bartender. Got my way up to like head bartender, bar manager, whatever you want to call it, but just running the show there, bartending 4 days a week, setting the schedule, liquor orders. Just grinding. It was a cool place. It was an Irish pub, but we had like an Irish pub, a speakeasy on top, a banquet hall with a bar in it, sports bar. After a while, it turned into a tap room.
It's a huge place, sounds like.
Yeah, it was big. Like, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, we would have DJs and bands set up, and they would open up the doors, and you could go from place to place, and it would get wild. Yeah, it was a cool place for like a 21 to 24-year-old.
You're
when
getting
I lived
after
up there.
How many hours?
It was
shift, would you say?
So I would like bartending shifts, and then bartending shifts on Friday, Saturday, or like Saturday, Sunday nights. The one shift was crazy. So I would come in at like 7:45 in the morning. We had a huge soccer following. We got recognized by NBCSN for like one of the best soccer bars in America, one of the best places to watch the World Cup. To this day, they're like a known Liverpool bar now, like a recognized Liverpool bar in Delaware. And it started with a group of people there. But so I would open up at like 7:30 in the morning. These guys would come in, start watching soccer. We would get hammered drunk. So I would leave at 5 o'clock, go home, sleep for a couple hours, go back at 10 o'clock, work from 10 till 1 a.m. We would shut down, usually late night with the boys, hang out. And then I would get back up, get a couple hours of sleep, get back up at 8:30 in the morning, open the bar back up, and then, again, watch soccer. It would be wild. And the cool thing about European soccer is it's 9 months out of the year. So it was like that. And just, it was
money
little
maker
sleep.
Too.
Oh, dude, I was just
a lot of money to be made.
And then I had 3 days off to follow that, to kind of like, Monday was like the rest day, relax. And then, shout out Banks, Rocco, my boys. We used to have a lot of wild nights, man, a lot of crazy stories. But yeah, just great people. I still, anytime I get a chance to stop by there, man, Delaware, it's always got a great place in my heart. My friends, we still talk to this day.
Oh yeah, dude.
Good group of people.
21 years old. It just seemed like we were so much older then. it's kind of wild. Like I mean, as a 21-year-old, you were probably raking in a shit ton of money just doing what you were doing then.
Yeah.
Like,
We would, yeah. And then it was cash all the time. So we would, go travel, take a day to, we'd go to like DC for a weekend, just go out, and then, you'd go spend it on, drinking with everybody else. And, tip everybody else. You're taking care of people. It's
you ever wake up with
had
like no money? You're like, wait, what the? Hold up, where's my?
Dude, there was nights my boy was just throwing cash. Like he was walking up people's windshields and like putting 20s, like $100 on the windshield, and just like keep going. Me and my other boy were behind him, like collecting all this money. Like what is he doing, man? Like. And I don't know how we survived, to be honest, man. Some of those people, it was all like we were all in the same neighborhood too. So it was walking. It was young professionals, like kids right out of college, starting their careers. Most people were single, but yeah, we had good groups and we were all, like I said, within a couple blocks of each other. So we crashed each other's house. We looked out for each other. One night we were trying to walk home drunk. I fell flat on my face and cut my head open. I still have a scar here. Brittany was like, just wait 30 minutes. I'll take you guys home. I'm like, no, we're good. And so I was like, as I'm walking, stumbling home drunk, in my head, I'm like, oh, it's going to be faster if I run. Running's faster than walking in theory. And I kind of remember like starting to run. And then I just remember like picking myself up off the ground. Then I remember like Brittany waking me up, like, don't fucking move. Don't move. And like, there was just blood kicked all over. She said it looked like somebody got murdered, just like bloody handprints everywhere. Just, I fell, smashed my face on the concrete. I have no idea how long I was like passed out for. And stumbled my way back in the house and just stupid.
I can hear you right now, just being like, I'm good. So at what point living that lifestyle did you sort of plateau and you were like, I need to look into whatever the next thing is?
So it was a lot of fun. And my boy, he started working at Dewey Beach in the summer, and that was like a crazy, crazy party town. People would go there, like our place on steroids, just wild times. And so we would go see him and stuff. And so the opportunity was kind of lingering around to work there. And then at one point he's like, I'm going to work in Puerto Rico in the winter. So he's doing this beach in the summer, going down the island in the winter, bartending all the time, just hand and fist, living the life. And he's like, dude, you should look into it. Like it'd be something that, you could definitely pull off. And I just remember like thinking like, man, I am just like, I'm done with like, I don't want to do that. My other boy, he started like
just real quick.
He graduated college. He started his career.
Yeah, just real quick. I remember. So Michael was on another podcast before. You've already popped your podcast cherry, and it was people in the marijuana industry that had a podcast, and they worked with you before. They knew you personally from working with you, and they just kept harping and repeating of just the hard worker you were. And just how much you were dedicated and just a great guy. And just to give people some perspective, just how hard you were working. And you said yourself, I mean, you wake up at 7 a.m. and you're still, you took a break, but you're still working at 1 a.m. Like, you put in your time, you hustled hard. You got to a certain point to where you're like, you know what, I don't feel like I can do this anymore at the rate I'm doing it. And so when he came with that opportunity to go elsewhere out of state, you're like, if I do that, that's not kind of what I'm looking to do if I do that, right?
Yeah. It's not like he offered me like, hey, let's do this. But he was like, man, we can like, you can hop on board too. So, I was like, no, like I need to figure something else out. And I remember watching this video on, obviously I was, still big into weed and everything, smoking and doing that. And I remember watching a video of a dad giving his son a tincture and stopping he had 300 seizures a day, micro seizures, and that stopped it instantly. And
I remember
just seeing the relief for this kid and stuff really was like, man, that's what I want to help save somebody's life and go into the weed industry. But that was kind of, so like I was thinking of like, how can I, start a dispensary, like get into the lounge aspect of thing, like take the bar scene and make it into the marijuana scene.
Yeah.
And then behold, I'm at the bar, I'm working, and I meet a friend of a friend who's like, hey, I've got a spot out in California. Do you want to come work for me? And I was like, you know what? Like, let's do it. Like, so me, Brittany, my dog Jester, and my cat packed up in a tent and drove
What
from
year was
Delaware. That was 2015. 2015.
Okay.
So again, about August, September.
That's around the time. So we moved out west around the same time, I believe.
Yeah, I think when I was telling you, you're like, dude, either that or maybe right after I got out there, you're like, dude, I'm moving to Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was the summer of 2015 is when we were leaving. So you probably got out there right before I did. So it was a whole new territory out there, whole new world.
And so, I met this guy. We had met one time and decided to move out there. And the more I got into
wild to me. That's wild that you trusted this guy to dive straight into a dream and something that you were going to make work no matter what it seemed. And
I was, again, I was ready to, and I appreciate those flowers too of, saying what a hard worker grinder I am. I know you're cut from that same cloth, man. That's how you've gotten to this point here. And, we grew up just seeing, again, our parents do that, our grandparents, like the community, it's bled on us. And I remember like going to other states and people saying, I really appreciate, how hard of a worker you are. You don't see that everywhere. And it's like, yeah, I'm just, just put in a little bit of effort, not that big a deal. And then the more you work with people, it's like, okay, over the years, there's people I want to, go out and have a beer with. There's people I want to work a 12-hour shift with. And those two people don't always align, sometimes they do. And that's great, but sometimes they don't.
For sure.
So I met this dude and Brittany was like, shout out to Brittany who was willing to do it as well.
Yeah. Loyalty right there.
For sure. And I started studying online. I was like, let me get into this and turn as much as I can. Even though, I said we had dropped out of college. I made it 2 years and was like, you know what? I'm going to start going into debt if I keep on this route. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop out. I know I can make money.
That was always my thing. I'm like, not only am I wasting money, I'm wasting time on, potentially earning money. So especially if you don't know what you're doing, I just always recommend just like taking a step back, maybe working, seeing the world a little bit before you just start shoveling all this money to the government that you just for a piece of paper, you don't even know if that's what you would like to do with the rest of your life or something you enjoy. Just, take a second to think about what you really want to do in the long run instead of just worrying about making people happy, just doing what everyone else is doing. Don't be afraid to go against the grain. And, you're going to be inspirational to a lot of people regardless, you just taking that leap.
I couldn't agree more, man. Take your time, travel, see the world, figure out. I mean, I was 24 when I figured out that, I want to grow weed for the rest of my life. I got it through I was looking at one thing and then this little online classes. I got certified in horticulture and a few other classes like safety regulations, learning a whole different thing with marijuana, which came, very useful later. But after seeing that, I was like, oh, I really want to grow. And then what better place to grow than the Emerald Triangle, Humboldt, Trinity, Mendocino County. But hey, remind me, so what was it? So you started dating Rosita and then she got a job in Arizona and that's what took you guys out there, right?
Yeah. Which I've touched on before, but how I ended up in Arizona, I met my wife in early 2015. It was the summer of 2015. And, she was on the academia path. She was getting her master's at WVU and she had a year where she had to make a decision where she was going to get her doctorate. And I remember, my father, that was the year he passed away, 2015. So it seemed like we were leaving no matter what, whether he was sick or still or here or gone. And I'm just appreciative of God throwing me that bone of just like everything sort of lined up how it should have, because, I like it, just going back to earlier, not being there at the last moment with my grandfather passing away, being out of town. I couldn't imagine moving out of state with my dad on his deathbed, and just
the way he was.
It all just kind of lined up together, and just, my wife kind of was instrumental in just progressing me in my life and what was next, because, I had my own place. I moved out of my mom's house when I was like 23-ish, and just, I was back to a point to where I was single again, and just the same cycle, almost distracting myself. I was working 16-hour shifts. I had a roommate at the time that was just saying, like, I don't know how you do it, dude. You're like a robot. Like, you work 16 hours and you party and then you sleep till noon one night. Like, I would be still up, like getting home, and he would be waking up for work.
Yeah.
And so, like,
you guys would pass each other in the doors in the morning.
I remember when he was like, we'd be watching like NBA or something at night, and it's like 7, 8 o'clock, and I look over and he's passed out, and I'm like, dude, come on, man. But he was an early riser. He'd wake up at like 5 or like 4:30 or something. But I just remember I would still be just like slowing down, and I would hear him just like wrestling around, getting up. And I'm just like, this is crazy. I should probably go to bed. But yeah, so it was either we're going to end up in Gainesville, Florida, or Phoenix or Tempe, Arizona. So, which is in the Phoenix area. So I think it was the best decision we ever could have made to go out west to Arizona, because it just opened up everything. I kind of got a new start. I kind of got to dive into the barbering thing. It didn't happen immediately, but I eventually got into it and took the leap. And, we're talking about,
there was a lot more opportunities in that like barber culture out there in like Phoenix compared to, Morgantown, West Virginia. Right.
Yeah. And like, the work ethic for me has always been something. And, I was taught how to cut hair by, Mexicans that weren't born in this country. And I had the best teachers because they were great with professionalism. They came to this country with their families and made something of themselves. And like my instructor and her husband, and both of them traded places instructing me, Blanca and Manny Ramirez. Yeah. And I didn't know this, they had their first apartment when they were 17 years old, and they had their first child when they were 16, or at least Blanca was 16.
Yeah.
And so they've been ahead of the game for a long time. And it's great now because their daughter's like 18 and above, and like they've made quite the life for themselves. And just, it was great having those teachers, and just it seemed to be the right fit for me to be in this barber school. It just so happened to be 5 minutes away from my apartment at the time, and it was wild ride. And I just remember trying to keep in touch with you a little bit, and we're trying to link up, and we never ended up linking up out west because you had your hands full yourself. So tell these people where you were. There's this little place called Murder Mountain. Some people may have heard of a Netflix documentary. It kind of shed some light on it. So
yeah. So
a little bit.
So first, so we headed out west. It was me, like I said, the girlfriend, the dog, packed up in a Chevy Cruze the first year. All we had was like, we're going to meet you in this town 2 hours south of where we're going to be living. It's like, all right, cool. And so traveling out there, we stopped in Colorado. I have an uncle out there, saw him. And then we got up to Trinity County. So it was Humboldt, Trinity County, and the Emerald Triangle is they call it, the three counties. And at one point they produced like 95% of the marijuana throughout the US.
Okay.
And on that, there is a little place called Murder Mountain, which it's not really referred to out there as that. But and honestly, I was actually out there as they were shooting the document, or I'll use the term documentary. I was out there.
I don't think I connected the dots either, because I remember seeing that and I didn't realize you were in that area.
Yeah, that's so we get up there, we meet in a little town called Ukiah. It's haiku backwards, and that's where we would go into town. So we say, Northern California, most people think San Francisco, Oakland. We were 5 hours north of that. We were
way
closer
north.
we were close to the Oregon border, the Redwoods. Like, that's where we were at. Eureka, Ukiah. It would take us 2.5 hours to get off the mountain to get into town, to get supplies. We would just load up. There's no cell phone service, power by generator. We would have to drive. There was like an emergency spot 15 minutes away, but typically like the cell phone spot would be like 30, 40 minutes away. And they had Wi-Fi calling and stuff out there, but like my phone didn't have it at the time. And I remember when I pulled up there, I remember just sending an email to my dad of like, here's the coordinates just in case, like I don't really know like where I am or anything, or what I'm going to be doing, or like what's going on.
Talk about that a little bit. It's talking about resistance from your folks and family. Like, what were their thoughts on you taking this leap of sorts? And
I remember telling them, because again, like I had a good job. I was working 4 days a week, bar manager, making good money, and I was like, I'm going to move to California and work on a wheat farm. And they were like, I was expecting like a lot of resilience, and like what they're like, I mean, if you think that's like, if that's what you want to do, like go for it. Like, and my mom was pretty nervous and like wasn't really for it, but it wasn't like, don't do it. And then I was like, just smart, like, do your thing. Like, you started over in Delaware, like kind of doing there, you were successful and everything. So go ahead, and if you think you can do it out west as well, and then go for it.
It's not like they knew.
So they were
like, they knew you were going to do whatever you wanted anyway. Of course.
Yeah. So like, no matter what, I was going. So
at least it gave them some sort of comfort in knowing that you did this kind of once already, like moving out of state, and made a good living.
Just instead of 5 hours away, I'm now 48 hours away.
Right. Yeah. That's the hard part too, which was hard with, moving away from my family too. You're across the country. You're in a whole new space. You got no one out there.
Yeah.
So walk me through. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just saying, growing up where we did, it was that close-knit community where, your cousins, aunts, somebody was always around that, you get a hold of. And, when we kind of moved away, didn't have anybody around and just started over with nobody. That's the biggest fear, an emergency or something were to happen. It's just you.
Right. So. Yeah. There's kind of no backup out there. And yeah, like a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people call Clarksburg the black hole, and because you can't get out, you just get sucked in forever. But I feel like, the more and more I think about it, that's just with any hometown, anyone's hometown, it can be the black hole for sure. And, everyone's got their nose in your business more in your hometown. And it was like, and I just remember like when we would come back for Christmas, and just like people reaching out to me because they know we're close. And I was just like, they were like, what's up with Magee? What's going on with Magee? And just like, I remember on that podcast you were on, your coworkers were doing the same thing. They're like, what the hell's Magee doing? Like, well, he seemed to just abruptly leave, like, and you made up a story, right?
Yeah. And again, this, it was still a little taboo on, what exactly you're doing.
Yeah. You tell people are going out to be a weed farmer, they're like, oh, his life's in shambles. What's he doing? Like, yeah. So I get it.
People like, are you joining a cult? Are you going out there just to, it's like, no.
I get it. How you kind of want to keep it under wraps.
Yeah. And so I had looked at like going into like to be a vet tech, like just to do something. Like I was done dealing with people. I wanted to deal with plants or animals. And I looked into being a vet tech, and they didn't make very much money, and for all the schooling and everything.
Yeah.
So again, the other opportunity, I was like, well, plants are great. And working on the farm, I did like I said, got into horticulture and everything. And, just because we stopped going to school and everything didn't mean I stopped educating myself between like reading books. Now audiobooks are a really great big thing, but going to different events and shows and panels and sitting in on stuff and hearing people have done it and trying to get their perspective and interviews. I've been very blessed to have a lot of cool people to learn this industry from.
We're lucky to grow up in this internet era where just information is just super easily consumable at any point we want it. So we cashed in on that for sure.
Absolutely.
Say it's 2016 when you were out there. Walk me through a normal day doing what you were doing.
So the first year I got out there, there was 8 of us that year. And, essentially we kind of went out there just like trim weed, like be a farmhand. So like if I would wake up in the morning, whenever the chickens would, start crowing and or the rooster would start, so we had goats, pigs, chickens. We, had our own garden and everything.
So you still had animals. I mean, you're still, crossing over some other things too.
Exactly. And being out there, being alone, like it was 3 hours to a vet, like if anything happened. So, but yeah, it was, I would get up and I would start, watering or, getting fertilizer ready, different things. We went out there and I had a little bit more education than everybody else out there on like what was going on with the plant. And I remember walking around and I saw some spider mites, a little bit of pest out there that can get in the bud and cause some problems. So I caught it early, let the owner know and everything. We started talking more and he was like, just had me work more with the plants than do kind of the side work that everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
So I would like scout, like I said, feed, water. Yeah, I'm trying to think, every day was different. That was kind of early on. We kind of set out a schedule depending on the first year. I was just kind of like the farmhand and everything.
Yeah.
And like we lived. Yeah, exactly. Lived in a tent. So it was me and my girlfriend in a tent inside a carport and we were on top like pieces of plywood. And so I had a sleeping pad that was like
just phenomenal for your back.
Yeah, it is, but not for 6 months.
No.
Like for a week, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I was just joking. But actually, sitting on something that firm can be good, I guess, for a short stretch.
Yeah, it was my hips that hurt the most. Like laying on your sides for a little bit of time.
Yeah, if you want to get on your side.
I had a sleeping pad that was great. My girlfriend bought like a cheap one, and it deflated within like a week. So I gave her mine and just ended up sleeping on plywood for the whole time. The second year we were in the barn and that's when it was just like 4 of us and things. So we were always kind of walking that gray line the first year of the legal market. So out there you would get a recommendation from a doctor. Like I had my own like, med card and that said I could grow 99 plants and possess up to 40 pounds at any given time. And so like you could get 3 or 4 of us that all had our licenses and then we could grow 300 or 400 plants together. And that's how you kind of got away with it.
Loophole,
but then you'd have to go sell it, whether it be a dispensary, whether it be the illicit market, things like that happen. But basically, yeah, from seed or clone all the way up to going down to the dispensaries and selling the weed. I was in every single facet of it and doing it all on our own.
Great experience to try to
break
into those different things.
The most amount of people we had there at one time was 8. The lowest was 4, me, my girlfriend, the owner and his girlfriend. Every once in a while we'd have like another person come up and help and stuff. And then I bounced around and worked on 4 different farms while I was there for the 3 years. 2 of them were legal, 2 were illegal. And that was all the way up through during Prop 64 and into Prop 215. So that's when the laws changed and it became recreational, which we still went through the legal market with that. So all of our 100 plants got scratched, and then we could only grow 10,000 square feet. And they actually give you room for canopy and stuff. So it ended up being 15,000 square feet. And so 2 farms that I worked on had those licenses, and I would go there, help set up, help, mix the pots, mix the soil, get the garden ready, get the fencing ready. I mean, anything that needed done, you just, you wake up and go over it. As I was there and kind of learned everybody's trust, those 2 farms, I was the manager of the one farm where I could kind of like was in control, call the shots. The other farm, I went there and was like, helped out, did the best I could, try to give advice what I can. And I mean, again, not that they needed advice, like they taught me so much stuff, but there's some stuff that I learned like scientifically with the plant that I'll kind of get into later that you learn. You learn stuff out there, they call it bro science, or, like the pseudoscience, that, oh, this is how, we've done it here and this and that. And as you work and study more, you learn that that's not exactly how plant science works.
Now, you said there was like, in that other podcast, you said there was like 2 sides to Murder Mountain. There was sort of a friendlier side and a not so friendlier side, right?
Yeah. So I actually didn't see the documentary up until like a year ago or so, or a few months back. I actually sat down and watched it, and it's based on, a true story. I was up there right after the time. It's a sad story, but those types of things happen. So they're called trimmers, or trimmigrants. People literally stay on the side of the road with signs and with scissors on the sign. People pick them up. They go up there, they trim, they get paid in cash or in weed, and they send them on their way. And you never know who you're picking up or who you're going to work for. I was really lucky. So yeah, Murder Mountain goes up this way, and we were on this side of the mountain, and where all like everything took place was on the left side, the opposite side of the mountain. So it was like 30 minutes away. That's where we would go to get like gas. When we were up there, like a beer run, do different things. Just like it had a small little gas station up there, like a local shop, but that was it. Do
you have any close calls of like, danger?
Not so much danger. I remember being in the gas station one time, and I'm sitting there walking through, half asleep. It was early in the morning, and grabbing some snacks and stuff for the day. We were going to work on another farm, and some dude comes stomping in there screaming and grabs this guy. And he's like, if you fucking drive like that again, I'm going to beat your ass. And I guess, so people will drive like kind of reckless up there. It's all dirt roads. There's no signs. There's nothing.
Right.
Like I said, it's wilderness, and
Regulation.
Yeah, there's kids up there, like, and so people like that's their own town, like they hold their own. And that wasn't necessarily me, but seeing that guy like get in there and freak out, it's like, oh, people are serious up here. I had heard stories. I knew the story that Murder Mountain's based on. I kind of heard all the stories individually, but not told as one like that, and knew exactly what was going on. I think I kind of mentioned to you at one point, I was like, basically there's 2 sides of that story, where like the hippies that went up there for love and peace and to grow and to get away from society and to focus on the land and Mother Nature. And then the other part of people that went up there to make money and then got into meth and do drugs. And that's the Murder Mountain side. I was really fortunate. I got into the side with like the peace and love and more of those people. They were some bad dudes as well. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. You rubbed shoulders, I'm sure, plenty.
So the one year, I forget what year it was, my second or third year, my boss goes into town to pick somebody up from San Francisco or to do something. And so I'm up there, and we sent the 2 girls to another farm to go help trim or go do some work or to help out. And so I'm at the farm working, doing my thing. And it gets to the evening. I'll go up to the house. I turn the power generator on, and my phone starts blowing up with all these messages. And I find a way to like FaceTime, Facebook video chat, whatever it was. I found a way to like get a hold of. They're like, yeah, hey, everything good? I'm like, yeah, what's going on? He's like, people are robbing people up there. I just got word that on, the other side of the mountain there, it's harvest time. Just be safe up there. Keep an eye out. The gun's in the safe. Here's the combination. If you need anything, let me know. So, all right, cool. I'm all good. Hang up, make something to eat, go outside. I'm smoking a joint, getting ready to go back over. And again, it's it's dark out. It's getting kind of late, and you don't see cars up there are going to their place. You never want to make a wrong turn and up on a wrong property, because that can get you in some bad stuff. But so I see this car kind of pulling up to our driveway. It starts to slow down a little bit. I'm like, that's kind of weird. And it stops like right by our gate. I'm like, man. So I go in the house. I grab a flashlight and a gun. And it's like it's like a 45 revolver. And the driveway is like 120 yards, 150 yards up to where the gate is. And so I'm standing there. And at this point, the car turns over and is facing down the driveway. The high beams are on. So all I see are lights blasting at my face. That's all. I can't tell what kind of car it is, anything like that. And I'm like, mother effer. And so I grab the flashlight, grab the guy, start walking up the driveway. Flashlight doesn't work. I'm like, shit. And so again, I'm just walking blind now into this light. And I'm like, yo, can I help you? Start yelling and stuff. And in my head, I'm starting to get like, all right, like it's them or you. Like, it's start to get ready. Like, if you got this gun out, like, you need to be ready to use it. Yeah. And so I'm walking up and I'm yelling, just, anything I can. Nothing. No response. This car starts creeping forward, and then it starts moving forward. It's past the gate. I'm like, oh, like shit. So I let off a warning shot, and I just start screaming like, yo, mother, like, what the fuck, can I help you? This and that, like getting like little, and
can I help you?
And I let off a second shot, and like I said, no, don't hear anything. Like nobody's saying anything. I'm like, the next one's going through the grill. And then I just hear this little like girl, like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck are you guys doing? And it was my girlfriend and the other girl. They came back to the farm. Like, we heard people were getting robbed, so they told us to come back to have everybody here. I'm like, well, nobody told me that. And I was like, why didn't you guys say anything? They were like, we thought you were yelling at the dog or something. Like, we couldn't really hear what you were saying. We had like the music on or whatever.
You're letting off shots right by your ear. Boom! Yeah. I said.
And they were like, you look crazy. Like, your eyes were wide and everything. I was like, I was getting ready to shoot you. Like, the next one was going through my car. And
like, this was fight or flight. I'm talking right here.
I had to walk away. Like, my adrenaline was through the roof. Like,
yeah.
It was wild, man. Like, I was ready to them or me. Had to protect the product, my man.
Absolutely.
But, that's the only way you get paid. You got to make sure everything gets done at the end of the year. That's how you survive. Because if not, then you're on your own.
Yeah.
But
I remember linking up with you like at the holidays, and you would come home for like almost an extended period of time. So what was going on? Was it kind of in between like harvests, or like what was?
Yeah. So we would harvest and get everything done. Kind of, make sure everything was sold, get rid of everything, liquidate the assets, as they say. And, then you kind of had all this cash on hand. So I would usually come back east for Christmas, see my family and everything, hang out for like a month or two. And then usually about like February, March, wait for the snow to kind of go down, head back, and then just get the plants ready, start getting all the veg, get greenhouses ready. We would run light depths. Like, we would build our own greenhouses. So there's a light deprivation. So I would be able to run more crops throughout the year, even in the colder months.
Just walk me through your mental state. It's like, was there, of course you had to have days where you're just like laying on that plywood, like, what is going on with my life? Like, did you see a route out? Did you see kind of the end game at all? Like, what was
So my goal was always, again, to get to grow and to make something that would save somebody's life or to really help somebody.
Right. You always had that in mind.
So that was like the driving force. I was able to use a lot to stay medicated. So that always helped.
Yeah.
But, no, I had my girlfriend there, my dog. I was doing something I loved, I cared about. There were definitely days, when you just do like take a mountain of soil and put into a wheelbarrow, take it up a hill, put it in a hole, and do that over and over and over again. Or, sit there and chop wood all day. And again, it's endless when it's just you working, or, you and somebody else. It can definitely get tiring. There are some bad times for sure. So every morning I I meditated before I knew what meditating was. I would kind of go off by myself in the woods for just a few minutes and sit there. There's nice little rocks set up, and I would just kind of sit there and breathe and just think about, what. Again, I always was like, how am I going to take this and make it to the next level?
Yeah.
Continuous
You always
improvement.
had what was next in mind.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things. That's one of the things. Like you just talked about meditating in the woods. Like where we grow up, everyone's a hunter. Everyone hunts. It's deer season. Everyone flips out. And I feel like that was the only part of that, being in the woods at 5 a.m. or whatever, just hanging out. Like that was the only part that kind of appealed to me with any. I would never hunt. I'm not gonna hunt ever. But like that was, I'm like, I get you there. Like I'm right with you there. I could hear how that would be intoxicating a little bit.
Absolutely. And just, you just sit there and kind of drift off and, calm yourself just like you do any morning in your house. And, so then, I would, do that. And then focusing on the next step of trying to, breeding was always a goal and passion of mine. So being able to work with people and just gain as much knowledge as I could. So I got to work with 4 different farmers that had been up there for 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. And the other guy, his family homesteaded up there in the early 1900s. Dude could barely read and write, like sold timber, worked as a hunting guide up there. He had 1,700 acres. It took us 25 minutes once we got through his gate to drive his driveway. I would light up a blunt and I would smoke it in the time it took me to get to his house.
Nice.
And one of like the smartest guys I've ever met, just a genius with growing plants. I learned so much from him. And just a little bit I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him, but when I did, I would introduce myself. Like, hey, Mike, nice to meet you. I'm here. What can I do for you? And he's like, okay, I need you to do this and send me on my way. And like to show that you were like serious, you had to backpack 3/4 of a mile fertilizers. So like 5, 10, 25, 35 pounds, depending on what you had going on. You would have to walk that up like the hills, like I said, 3/4 of a mile, get to this top, put it in the pots, put soil up there. He had irrigation ran up there, and he said that's what he did when he was younger, and that's how people had to prove themselves. And after doing that for a while and everything, and getting to work for him and learn as much as I could, he started kind of introducing himself. But he also showed me one thing that was cool was he had a structure where he started work every day at 8 a.m. He took lunch at 11:30 every day. His wife made everybody that was working for him lunch, sandwiches, whatever. It was all wild pigs that he had there, fish that they caught. Everything was their own. And then after that, he would stop work at 5:30, no matter what they were doing, where they were at. 5 o'clock comes around, done for the day. Yeah. And then his wife would cook. Him and his wife would cook everybody dinner. And just as an appreciation for everything you did. And he's like, over the years, we tried different things. I could work for 12, 16 hours, get crazy. He's like, I've burnt too many people out. I've burnt myself out. It's not worth it. This is the most productive way. And this is the best way to do it.
Just like in barbering, I just had that, this is my second podcast today. We were having that conversation on my first one today, just because I'm someone, I don't take lunch when I'm at work. I only work 4 days a week. When I feel like I'm at work, I'm there to work. I'm not going to waste any more time. And he's big on taking a lunch. And a lot of barbers are. That's that time. They need that time. They look forward to that time to kind of regroup. And it makes you not burn out for sure. So, that applies with barbering and any job really that, you can kind of control what you're doing all day. And
for sure, I know where I'm at now. I'm with you 100%. Like when I walk through that gate, I'm like, I give this place 110% of my focus. Like I see people like look at Facebook and Instagram and stuff on their phone, and like I'm here to work and to give you, like if I'm on my phone, it has to do with work. They're given our employees are given 2 or 3 15-minute breaks and then a 30-minute lunch break. I don't take my 15s, but I will take my 30-minute break, and I go usually.
I never understood that 15-minute breaks. I'm like, you get the fuck out of here. Let's get to work.
Yeah, it's when in the kind of manufacturing side of it, like more production side of things, like they're working hard. They need that little break up, get a snack, whatever. it helps. It helps for
No
those
doubt.
guys. But yeah, I take that 30 minutes. I try to leave, just go off site somewhere and just collect myself. And then once I go back, it's right back to it. And,
Yeah. They'll be doing that 15-minute break at like Kroger, though. We get these guys bagging bags.
That's where it's like, come on now. What are we doing?
Yeah. So, okay. So how long did you live in California total?
So I was out there
going
3
back and
years. Yeah.
forth?
2015, 2016 to 2018. I left right as they were introducing Prop 215. The legal market was going. I saw kind of an in route for the dude I was working for, the company. His goal was always processing and distribution. My goal was always growing. And that was great in the beginning because I could watch the farm, take care of the plants, put out that weed. Yeah, so that was how we were rocking the second and third into the third year. Was I took care of the garden, he took care of everything else, and sold the product, took care of the business side of it, and yeah, things were rolling smooth. Then the licensing, we're reading where he had to focus on production and distribution, and the garden got put on the back burner. And so I saw the writing on the wall. I had some stuff going on, and was like, you know what? I think it's time for me to head back east. I've got all this experience. It should be easy for me to get a job right back in the industry. It's starting to go medical in some places. Let me see how it's rolling over here.
Yeah.
Boy, was it difficult to get in the industry when I got here.
So you came back 2018 back east. And did you go back to West Virginia initially, try to figure out, or were you kind of looking surrounding home?
So I kind of bounced around, to be honest. When I stopped in Delaware for a couple weeks. I stayed in West Virginia for maybe a month or so. I was living in Pittsburgh for a while. Again, just trying to figure it out, reaching out to some different people. I made connections and networked for a while. I remember like on my way back, I stopped in Colorado, stayed there for like a week and just tried to interview out there. Unfortunately, you had to live in Colorado to work there. So they really wouldn't give me an interview until after that.
Yeah, it have to be a full commitment to live there if you wanted to get in.
Exactly. So I made my way up to Pennsylvania. Their medical program had just started, and I think I applied at every single grow in the state. Didn't hear anything back from anybody.
So what was going through your brain then when you were like, God, what should I do? Like, I mean, were you running out of money a little bit? Did you save enough? Were you?
I
how long did that go on?
Enough. Yeah, I had a nice little nest egg that I kind of put aside, and yeah, because out there I didn't really have any expenses for living because I was living on the farm, so everything I made was just kind of
just pocket everything.
Yeah. So that was cool. So yeah, I had a little nest egg that I put to the side that I had as a backup. And so, yeah, looking around, I was like, man, what am I going to do? Like, this is definitely freaking out. And a couple applications came up for some dispensaries. And I was like, well, might as well get my foot in the door that way, see what's going on. And so interviewed at one, they said I didn't have enough experience. And I was like, what kind of, you kidding me? And so then I went to another place, got in the foot door there, and I worked there for like 7 or 8 months, I think. And that was really cool getting to see hands-on, working with patients and seeing like how this medicine really helped people. I mean, I had, worked with kids with autism that they would take CBD and THC together. And that was the only thing that could calm them down to get them through the day of school. And, seeing again, like the same thing, people with seizures, tinctures. The one girl I lived with in California, she had epilepsy. And so we grew some CBD strains just for her. And she made it a full year just on CBD, just on the flower, and not on any of her epilepsy medication. She had a stressor, an event, and she did have one. So then she went back to the medication and found a very good balance of using both. But so that's, again, that was the driving force for me being in California. It was like, how can I take this and keep this going? So going into the dispensary, seeing that side of things, but in the back of my mind, it was always like, I know there's something more. Use this knowledge of how it helps people, right? Take as many notes as you can, and then how can I get to the grow? And that was always the end goal.
So yeah, you were thinking, how can I move towards the growth side, moving through this dispensary? So what was the connection that you got into the whole the whole cultivation side of things?
So there was an issue at the grow one day, and one of the I forget what exactly it was, but one of the delivery drivers was in the dispensary talking, and he said there's a problem up there, whatever happened. I was like, well, you guys know I used to do this for a living, right? And he's like, what? I was like, I used to grow in California, like commercial, like large scale, not just like a closet grow. He's like, well, email this guy and tell him about it. And so that was the manager, the facility director at the time. So emailed him, went back and forth, and he was like, yeah, let's set up an interview. And so went up there and met with one of the, VPs of cultivation or whatever, like regional guy was coming in. And I was like, hey, I got all this experience, this and that. And he's like, okay, but can you do things our way? And I was like, yeah. And like, I think there was like 6 times throughout the interviews, like, can you do things the way we want you to do it though? And in this industry, you always get that where everybody knows the right way to do it, especially if they have experience. Yeah. They think they know the best way. Where I was always the sponge just trying to learn. Like, nobody's figured out the best way yet. That's why we're all doing it different ways. Like, we're all trying to get there. There hasn't been the scientific research to back it up yet. So just take a little bit from everybody and try to piece it together.
Hell yeah, man. So he kept driving that home. Can you do it our way? Can you do it our way? But
so I got my foot in the door, and luckily they just opened up a greenhouse like section. And I remember one of the guys was talking to me, and they were like, "Oh, you're like the greenhouse expert, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I am." And I don't know how the rumor got started or whatever, but I was just like, "Yeah, yep." I just went, fake it till you make it, man. Like, just kind of roll with it. And again, not that like that made me any higher at the time. And again, I knew what I was talking about, so that is what I didn't have to fake it because I knew what was up. And I was faking the title, I guess.
You're faking the title, exactly. You had the experience, though, knowledge.
Yeah.
So, at what moment did you get a job, or were you offered a job to get out of the whole dispensary life?
On the spot there, after we had talked
right
and everything.
On the spot.
Yeah, he was like, do you want to make the move up here? Because it was a couple hours away. And I was like, yeah. And I remember, getting an Airbnb for the first couple of nights, the first week, staying in a Motel 6, like till I found a place, sleeping on the floor at that place. I didn't have a bed yet. And just, again, it kind of goes all back to like, this is my dream. I'm going to make this work. And
sacrificed a lot, man. So it's funny because my wife and I, my family and I had my daughter born at that time. She was just under a year old. We moved to Pennsylvania as well. And we actually ended up, it's crazy. We both were in the East, moved out West, and we both moved East around the same time. And we were only an hour away from each other at that time, give or take, a couple minutes. And so that was kind of wild how we ended up closer that way. And then, so what was next after that? So everything's going good. You have an apartment. I believe you were just about to buy a house. You're crushing it.
Yeah. I got a promotion at work. I was the manager of cultivation number. So I was the number 2 in running that place.
Wow.
And just the apartment lease was ending up, getting ready to buy a house. Me and Brittany, still together, loving it. Things were going well.
Crushing it.
And then when we went to buy the house, that whole process was going on. We were staying in a hotel because that was the cheapest option while we waited through the 2-month process. And unfortunately, even with our medical cards and it being a medical state and everything going on, we got busted for having marijuana in the wrong containers. And so one day I was at work.
Walk me through what that experience was like.
One day I was at work and I got a text like, cops are here. Oh shit. And my heart dropped, and I was like, for somebody else.
This was during COVID times, mind you, right? This was like
So this was like right at the beginning. Yeah, this was 2020, right at the beginning of COVID. So this was, I believe, right after the shutdown. Like, things were open back up, or no, this would have been before the shutdown, I guess, right? Yeah. Yeah, this was pre-shutdown.
Okay.
So yeah, got back to the hotel.
Well, I remember you telling me they said they weren't going to clean the rooms or something. So that may have made you a little lax.
So they were like, no, maids were going to come in or whatever. Like, it's just going to be your place. And we're like, okay, cool. And so yeah, I had some containers of some medicine that weren't in the right. They were in mason jars, and not in the correct packaging. So that was my fault. And
didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. And so it's technically not legal to burn flour in Pennsylvania. You have to vaporize it. So I think there was like a joint on the dresser or something. And so this girl came in and took some pictures, sent it to the cops. I think she was, an informant, CI, whatever. And so the cops came. They thought we had all these drugs and everything. Everybody said like they, tore the place apart, look at all this stuff. And she said they were like, oh, it's just weed. And they let her go. The officer and detective gave her a card and said, call me, and we want to talk to you down at the police station when your boyfriend gets here. And in my room, I had all types of books, information, just stuff on, growing things.
Yeah. Notes with formulas.
I mean, a lot of it was work related. So like stuff that was just, not even had anything to do with, nothing illegal.
Yeah.
So yeah, the detective was trying to say that we were possession with intent to sell. We were selling weed, all this stuff out of this hotel. I was like, are you kidding me? And I guess that's something people do is they go to hotels and sell drugs out of rooms.
Yeah. It just seemed like from me looking the outside looking in, like we're kind of talking like the guy, he was a detective on his way out, right? It seemed like, I got the big bust right before I get out, right?
Yeah, I think he was just an asshole. I think he was the chief was pretty cool. Like he was like, like let's make this work, talk, whatever. The detective, yeah, he was just pretty hard on like trying to get us busted and going down.
Everything going right for you. It just seems like wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, and then I start to see my whole life kind of fall apart there. So yeah, in my head, I have no idea what's going on. I call an attorney right away because I am not equipped to or knowledgeable enough to speak to the police on my own.
Right.
And so he was like, don't do anything. I'll be up there. So, next week comes around. They wanted us to be snitches as well, confidential informants, go do buys, go find harder drugs. And we're just like, no, kick rocks. And so we left and then no response at all for almost 2 years. Attorney reached out to try to make a deal, nothing. So in that time, I lost my job. You couldn't work in the industry at the time with any type of anything going on.
You were back to bartending again.
Yeah. So yeah, again, I just bought a house. So I had a mortgage now. My nest egg was just zooming out. And so I'm reaching out, applying all over the place. Nobody's hiring anybody because it's COVID. And I got a job at a local spot and started bartending again, serving tables and bartending.
And that's when we kind of reconnected in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that was I had all this time now, and we were about an hour away. We started getting back into golf, and
I was like, dude, I'm like, what do you think about golfing? Like, let's get your mind off of this. Like, let's kind of get back together and start golfing. You had a lot more experience than I did, but it was still minimal. And I was just like, fresh out the womb with the sport of golf.
Yeah. So. Dude, driving up there and just like hitting the driving range and just talking to you and like being able to, because it was something that, I never experienced before. I had never gotten in this type of situation. And, again, I remember talking to you and sitting there thinking like, did I make a huge mistake by going down this road, this industry? Like, what am I going to do the rest of my life? It's,
right. Everything was just sort of on hold, especially.
Yeah, they were trying to charge us with a felony. We knew, fully planning on taking it to court because we knew we weren't doing what they were trying to say. So, but, again, just the stress of the whole situation, the amount of money we had put into that, it was terrible.
So you didn't automatically lose your job. They just couldn't wait anymore. Like just so much time.
Yeah. So I was with them still for a little while, kind of suspended or whatever. And then at a certain point, they made the decision and cut ties, which I completely understand. given the circumstances, what was going on, it wasn't easy for both of us, but is what it is. I put them in a very tough situation, and they made the decision they had to.
Yeah. So when everything kind of came full circle, how many years were you bartending again?
So it was about 2 years, or just under 2 years, about a year and a half, and we're going through this. I remember I went down and was playing golf with my dad, actually. And I remember we were talking about it, and still like, no word. We have no idea what's going on. And my lawyer emailed me and said good news. And it was the first time he had ever emailed me good news in 2 years, a year and a half of dealing with this bullshit.
Yeah.
And so we were able to come to a plea agreement and figure out to resolve the situation. And shortly after that, I was able to talk to the company. We came to an agreement, and they were willing to take me back on.
How'd you reconnect? Did you reach out, or did they get it kind of
so they actually called me, somebody from there. And I'd stayed kind of in contact with a few people during the whole thing. But again, we really didn't know anything up until that point. So we really couldn't do much. And I didn't want to ask for a favor like, hey, put your neck out there for me or do whatever, just because I didn't know what was going to come of it. And then literally, like, I got that good news from my lawyer. Maybe a week later, I talked to the work, and they were like, if this is going to work, let's try to make something happen. If it'll work, we need somebody in this position. It's not quite where you were at, but a little bit lower. And, we'll see how it goes. And I took full advantage of that. I couldn't have been more blessed and thankful. And, again, that goes to show that, making good relationships and being, being pleasant to be around and leaving good impressions on people go a long way. And
there goes that work ethic again, coming back into play and just being the type of person you are. It just kind of played in your favor again.
Yeah, it's crazy that it worked out. As quickly as things fell apart, they started to kind of piece back together. And through that time, like I said, I've been blessed to kind of get back there and back with this company. We're doing great things. It's been a joy to be back there and be blessed. I'm working with some great people. I worked with the farmers, the old school guys, and now I'm working more with and had the hands-on approach. And now I'm doing the hands-on approach again, but more with people that are degrees in master's degrees in horticulture from certain universities and bioengineering degrees, and working, like I said, continuing my education the best I can, going to different conferences. And I have my state pesticide applicators license, so I can order EPA registered stuff and apply that and train people. And yeah, man, I've been honestly like truly blessed that it's came full circle. This wonderful plant has given me so much. And
somehow the universe, God is watching that. He saw the sacrifices you put in to get to where you're at, like all this long travel across the whole nation and just back and forth, and just the love and passion you have for it, just from the very bottom to near the top where you are now.
Yeah, and it's still going, man. They're still trying to grind, just like
you're not done
doing
yet.
This podcast, trying to reinvent myself, trying to take things to the next level. That's what continuous improvement. It's I think people are really powerful, and I think they can do anything they put their minds to. If they really want to do something, that what's they call it, the secret. If you make a vision board, whatever, if you really want to achieve something, and you have to be proactive about it. It's not just going to happen, not going to fall in your lap. But if you work towards those things, people surprise you, and they can do amazing things.
No doubt, man. Have you gotten a chance to just like this whole 12 years, just as long as you've been with Brittany, basically just thought about that time? Like, I've really just like thinking about doing this episode with you. It's just had me kind of reflect a lot in that past 10, 12 years. It's just like, wow, just like, I can't believe I've came this far. I can't believe just all of the things I've been through, the people I've lost, the people I've gained, the just people I've affected. It's been a ride, man. And I finally got a second to kind of it's still go, go, go. But did you ever feel like, it's just like the pedal's been to the floor and it's just been nothing but gas, and you finally taking a second back here now that you're back in a good spot and just looked back and reflected?
No, for sure, man. There for a while, I tried to do the meditation, and I got good at it. I've been trying to do it, and yeah, every once in a while, I will try to take a step back and just, whether it be when I'm working in the garden, at my house, and just, think about how truly blessed I am that, I've been on some crazy wild adventures, like you said. I mean, from growing up together, playing at each other's houses, to, I said, man, when you lost your dad, it was one of the darkest days, driving back to see that and try to get through that,
Yeah,
try
man.
to be here for you.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. You made the trip. You surprised me and showed up at the funeral. That was huge, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Love
it
the
was
intention
like,
for that.
I lost somebody too, and anything I could do to be there for you, just that was the right thing to do. When somebody's down, we pick them up, and that's how it should always be. We look out for each other, and again, when I needed help, I was going through my stuff. You wrote me a letter of, to just speak on my character, and that was something that was huge. It meant a lot to me.
Absolutely, man. Would have done it 1,000 times.
I've been, but no, like I've been, honestly, I do try to, if not once a day, be thankful for, lately I've been able to look back through some pictures and stuff. And yeah, I got to see the sun set on, rise on the East Coast in Delaware, right off the beach. I saw it set in the West Coast in California on the beach. I've been all over this country. I lived in both coasts. I got to grow wonderful things. I got to travel Europe with my girlfriend. Brittany's been there with me through it all. And
she's been on that journey just as long as you are, it seems. It's crazy.
There's been ups and downs, and hopefully I think there's been more ups than downs. And I think she would agree with that. And we've got plenty more to go.
No one said it was easy.
No, it's continuously working. There's been, like I said, I'm sure I drive her crazy. I know I'm not the easiest person to be around, but we love each other, and she makes me happy.
Don't forget Jay boy there. He's been right there with you too.
Man. Yeah, Jay, he's almost 8 years old now. He's getting up there. I think he'll be 8 this year. Yeah, same thing. I got him in Delaware. He went coast to coast with me. He's been on a plane from California to Florida. Yeah. Now I've got 12 acres for him to run around here and just try to enjoy life, man. Yeah, it's I have you guys, great friends, great family. My family's been there to help me support through. Like I said, life hasn't been easy. There's been the ups, the downs. You lose people, you lose contact, you lose touch. You just do what we can, and yeah, like I said, like I hate to say, I've been blessed so much, and it's kind of that there's terms that get thrown around, but really I feel I've been super blessed with everything.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I'm like, there's a lot of people in Clarksburg that are going to want to see this, that, they used to be a lot closer with you and in your life more, and just didn't know what the hell was going on with you. And this will kind of, let them know.
Yeah. I'm terrible at social media. I have Facebook. I never get on it. And, I think I go to Clarksburg once a year for Christmas, to see some family. And when I'm there, usually it's a couple of days and I'm out, and
it's hard to make all the rounds.
It's hard to see everybody. Tough, and I think this year we were both in town. I don't think we saw each other.
Sometimes you get in, it's just you try to see a few people, and then sometimes it doesn't happen, and then you just kind of get comfortable sitting at the old house or whatever, and.
That's it. But that is a goal of mine, to start, maybe reaching back out and making my way back down there and trying to see, my brother's still down there as a home. And so,
we gave a lot of people a behind the scenes look at, your life and, my life that year, and just everything we've kind of came through and been through to get to this point. And so, just kind of
let me say for you as well, man. I can't be more proud of you. And some of our friends as well have kind of done the same thing as far as just getting out, grinding. You had a kid, you started your whole life over in Arizona, moving back and forth. You did it again in the area. You're doing it now in Atlanta. I mean, you're everywhere you go. You just knock it out of the park. Like I said, you had a curveball thrown at you when Sully came in the picture, and you just been seeing you race her and everything, man. It's just been it warms my heart so much, and seeing how well you are as a father. You're killing it, man. Your Barber, everything you're doing, just keep grinding. Keep doing you, man. You've been doing awesome. It's been it's been a joy to watch the last few years, watching you really grow.
Yeah, when you have a kid, it just makes all that sacrifice and grinding worth it even more. And I'm so proud of you too, man. I mean, you've been an inspiration. That's why I wanted to have you on here, to just share these stories of just perseverance and just going after a passion and a dream that is, worthwhile when you look back, 30 years further down the road from now, when we're like 60 plus, we're not going to look back and say, I should have took the leap and did this. No, we did it. We already did it, and we're still doing it and enjoying it and loving it all at the same time. So
absolutely. There's just, that's one of the biggest things. And there's, times where, Brittany was a big motivation for me, just pushing me to say, just do it. Like, sometimes you don't have the means or the resources or the best options. And just, you can find 1,000 reasons, 1,000,000 reasons to say no, why things won't work. But there's always a good reason to try something, to do something. And, I remember even when you were telling me I think I'm going to start a podcast. I'm like, do it, man. Like this is a great platform for you. And, I'm, like I said, I'm glad to see what you're doing and following everything you're doing. You're going to keep it growing. And yeah, so keep preaching that, people just, if you get the opportunity, the chance, take the plunge, man. It's going to be worth it, and make the best of any opportunity you can.
Hell yeah, man. So what's next? What's the next progression for you that you're allowed to get into, that you're allowed to say, really?
So, I'm almost off of probation, getting the whole legal scene all taken care of and everything back on market. But I mean, honestly, my goals have never changed. I'm growing this plant to help save somebody's life and do what I can. And the company I'm with now, like, so we're fully vertically integrated, which is cool. So we have a lab on scene. We're able to test things, make different options for people, all types of different forms of ingestion methods. And so the goal is just to keep it grinding, keep pushing things to the next level, and to be the very best. I want to be the very best grower. I want our company to be the very best in the state and the country. I want everybody to come around and take notice on what we do and take notes and say, this is the best way to do it. We've seen it firsthand. And, until we get there, I'm not going to stop. We're going to keep on grinding.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, man, it's education. That's, learning from different people, from perspective. And that's, anyone that thinks they're absolutely right is usually, I don't trust people like that. The best way to get, the best way to get knowledge is to get people's perspectives and to pass things along. We're all trying to get to the finish line. There's different ways to get there. What's a rising tide raises all ships. And, I'm just trying to be the tide.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you're an essential part of the engine that, just that gives people who are in pain an alternative. And that's super special. And you should feel like, you're just, your hands are blessed. Your knowledge is blessing people with, just a healthy alternative to give a good quality of life. And just back to my dad being sick, like, he never really, just because the whole legal part, it just wasn't quite there yet, and he just didn't have a lot of options. Of course, he tried on the black market a little bit, but he had to smoke something, and he didn't really want to smoke. Like, if maybe there was an alternative where he could ingest a lot easier.
Whether it be a dropper, they have this oil that you can put on like a cookie and just eat it that way, or pills, like little gel tablets.
Right. Yeah. The pharmaceuticals and all the evil in this corporate world that are pushed onto us. That's terrible with the opioid crisis and just heroin epidemic. Like, it's awful. And this is something that is just becoming less and less taboo. And I'm glad that you're part of the engine that makes that happen for people, dude. You're doing something special. So don't forget that.
Yeah, I always joke with my brother that, me and my sister are in the medical field, since she's an occupational therapist and I'm in medical marijuana. So.
Like medical professional to another medical professional. What do you think about it?
Exactly. If I pull my ball out, I'm like, my medical apparatus. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So hell yeah, man. Well, I just want to thank you for making the time for me again, and just coming on here, and just, it's getting late. We went pretty long, but we kind of assumed we were going to go pretty long too. So
right. We knew it was coming. Thank you again for having me on, man. Like I said, I'm so proud of you for everything you're doing. Just keep on grinding, buddy. You got this.
Yeah, man. Let's keep inspiring each other and keep moving it forward. So hell yeah, man. Thanks so much for coming on. Have a good night, man. I'll call you here in a couple days or so.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk.
Yeah, I'm off tomorrow. I'll probably talk.
Absolutely. I can't. I'm off the next few days. I gotta grab some dirt. I'll be out in the garden planting some vegetables and stuff, getting everything ready. So, hey,
hell yeah, man. Keep pushing, keep inspiring. We're out. Take it easy, brother.
All right.
Barber Podcast. New episodes come out weekly on Sunday. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to be notified when new content is posted. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.